So today, with the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, especially senior Vaishnavas, Maharaj, we are continuing reading Canto 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 9, the dynasty of Amshuman, and we'll be reading texts from 18 till 28, because 28 is the first one with the purport. So it's the one on the board, and I'll read the previous ones, and then we'll chant 28 responsively. Sarvakama had a son named Sudasa, whose son, known as Saudasa, was the husband of Damayanti. Saudasa is sometimes known as Mitra Saha or Kalmasha Pada. Because of his own misdeed, Mitra Saha was sonless and was cursed by Vasishta to become a man-eater, Rakshasa. So we'll read the following text, just translations. King Parikshit said, O Shukadeva Goswami, why did Vasishta, the spiritual master of Saudasa, curse that great soul? I wish to know of this. If it is not a confidential matter, please describe it to me. Shukadeva Goswami said, once Saudasa went to live in the forest where he killed a man-eater, Rakshasa, but forgave and released the man-eater's brother. That brother, however, decided to take revenge. Thinking to harm the king, he became the cook at the king's house. One day, the king's spiritual master Vasishta Muni was invited for dinner, and the Rakshasa cook served him human flesh. While examining the food given to him, Vasishta Muni, by his mystic power, could understand that it was unfit to eat, being the flesh of a human being. He was very angry at this and immediately cursed Saudasa to become a man-eater. When Vasishta understood that the human flesh had been served by the Rakshasa, not by the king, he undertook 12 years of austerity to cleanse himself for having cursed the faultless king. Meanwhile, King Saudasa took water and chanted the Shapa mantra, preparing to curse Vasishta, but his wife, Madhayanti, forbade him to do so. Then the king saw that the 10 directions, the sky, and the surface of the globe were full of living entities everywhere. Saudasa that acquired the propensity of a man-eater and received on his leg a black spot, for which he was known as Kalmasha Pada. Kalmasha means contamination or, dirt. So it looked like he had the dirt on his pada, on his leg. So this is how he received that nickname, Kalmasha Pada. Once King Kalmasha Pada saw a Brahmana couple engaged in sexual intercourse in the forest. Being influenced by the propensity of a Rakshasa and being very hungry, King Saudas seized the Brahmana. Then the poor woman, the Brahmana's wife, said to the king, O hero, you are not actually a man-eater, rather you are among the descendants of Maharaj Ikshvaku. Indeed, you are a great fighter, the husband of Madhayanti. You should not act irreligiously in this way. I desire to have a son. Please therefore return my husband who has not yet impregnated me. So, and we'll read the next text, 28, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O king, O hero, this human body is meant for universal benefits. If you kill this body untimely, you will kill all the benefits of human life. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Hari Hari Bipale Janama Gonainu Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Nabhajiya Janeya Sunya Bisha Kainu The body of a human being is extremely valuable because in this body one can understand the instructions of Krishna and attain the ultimate destination of the living entity. The living entity is within the material world to fulfill the mission of going back home, back to Godhead. In the material world one hankers for happiness, but because one does not know the ultimate destination, one changes bodies one after another. However, if one gets the opportunity to possess a human form of body, in this body he can fulfill the 4 principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And if one is properly regulated, he makes further progress after liberation to engage in the service of Radha and Krishna. This is the success of life, to stop the process of repeated birth and death, and go back home, back to Godhead, Mam Eti, to be engaged in the service of Radha and Krishna. Therefore, taking a human body is meant for completing one's progress in life. Throughout human society, killing of a human being is taken very seriously. Hundreds and thousands of animals are killed in slaughterhouses, and no one cares about them. But the killing of even one human being is taken very seriously. Why? Because the human form of life, of body, is extremely important in executing the mission of life. So we'll read this text one more time. Dehoyam manusha rajan purushasya kilartada tasmatasya vadovira sarvata bhada uchyate. O king, O hero, this human body is meant for universal benefits. If you kill this body untimely, you will kill all the benefits of human life. So this is very interesting canto and very interesting part of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein so many stories are narrated in regards to ancient dynasties leading up to the appearance of Lord Krishna. And so this is the story of one of the descendants of King Bhagirath, great devotee of the Lord, and this king's name was Sodas. And we hear a very interesting story how he made one mistake, killed the Rakshasa and didn't kill his brother, and his brother retaliated through trying to, serve human flesh to Vasishta Muni. And Vasishta Muni, thinking that this was the fault of Sodas, cursed him to become a Rakshasa. And then the king became angry and he wanted to curse Vasishta as well, but his wife stopped him. And Vasishta realized that he made a mistake. He was performing 12 years of austerities in the forest. And nevertheless, the curse could not be reverted. And we can see here that he is acting under the spell, we can say, of this curse. He turned into a Rakshasa man-eater, and here he eats up his first prey. It's pretty terrible, right? And of course you might be wondering whether the pleading of the wife of a Brahmana actually helped. No, it didn't. So that still ate the Brahmana. And so he was living like a Rakshasa, like that. And but then, further we will learn how the wife of a Brahmana cursed him to die as soon as he becomes engaged in sexual intercourse. And, immediately we might, pose a question why, things like that seem to be an accident, and then this king is a great devotee and it happens to him. Such a terrible thing. But then, as we read further, we will learn that this was all plan of the Supreme Lord, because of that curse, he couldn't engage in sex anymore, so he had to follow very important regulative principle for spiritual advancement, and he became perfect. And then he went back home, back to Godhead. So without this curse, he wouldn't be able to control his senses so well. And so actually, we can see in many ways that how, especially Bhagavatam narrates how different curses, they turn into benedictions. Like, who is the first example of person being cursed in Srimad Bhagavatam? Yeah, Maharaj Parikshit. And then, he takes it as a blessing. And we can see that this is the standard pattern for great Vaishnavas. Like, we can read in Chaitanya Bhagavat how Lord Chaitanya was cursed by one materialistic Brahmana, and he said, I curse you to never have any happiness in material life. And then Lord Chaitanya is in ecstasy. He says, thank you for the blessing. So this is the perception of a pure devotee. And Bhagavatam is trying to teach us what pure devotional service is. But coming back to the particular theme being explained in here, Dehoyam Manusharajan Purushasya Kilartadan, that the wife of a Brahmana says that human body is very important because it brings so many benefits. So please don't kill the human body. And Srila Prabhupada says very interesting things in the purpose. But before we go on, I was just wondering if any devotees know what was the most favorite song of Srila Prabhupada. Anyone knows which song he liked the most? Yes, correct. Thank you, Shalom. Yeah, the exact song he quoted here. Ishtadevi Vigyapati. Hari Hari Bipale Janamagunayanu. So this song of Narottam Das Thakur. And this is how he starts his song. Manusha Janamapaya. This is Bengali, but this is Sadhu Bangla, exalted Bengali language. Not even many regular Bengalis would be able to understand it properly. So, Manusha Janamapaya, I've received this human birth, human body, and Radha Krishna Nabhajiya, however, I'm not worshipping Radha and Krishna. And Janya Shunya Bishakaino, that knowingly I'm drinking poison. And we can see that how much it is true. That only those people who worship Radha and Krishna, they don't drink poison. Everybody else who does not, they drink poison, they smoke poison, they shoot poison down their veins, right? Why? The modern psychologists actually came to a conclusion why people, it's a common sense that, all these things, alcohol, drugs, tobacco, it's all poison. And people killing themselves, right? That there is even a joke, Russian joke. I have to warn that it's a Russian joke so that you would be able to understand it. One man tells to the other man, why are you smoking? Don't you know that smoking is a slow death? And the man responds, I'm not in rush, I'm okay. And so, why people do that? Knowingly, they know that they destroy themselves in this way. Why do they do that? And they even pay money for it. And then the psychologists came to a conclusion that because people really don't like themselves, and they try to, kill themselves, basically. right? Destroy that. Because they don't value their lives, they try to destroy their lives. So this is very interesting conclusion, exactly in line with Bhagavatam conclusions and conclusions of the great acharyas. Yeah, and therefore it's very important to understand what is the value of human life and take proper advantage of a human body. And there are so many verses, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, highlighting that point. Anyone can think of any verse? Yes, Govinda Brahma. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This verse Srila Prabhupada quotes in the, what's that, preface to Srimad Bhagavatam? One of the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. And he says, Kaumaramacharet pragyo, that children have to be taught proper behavior and meaning of human life, have to get spiritual education from the early age, as early as 5 years of age. Kaumara. Dharma Bhagavatam iha, that they have to be taught. Bhagavad Dharma, Krishna consciousness. Durlabham manusha janma api adruvam artada. Because Durlabha, that this human life is very rare. It's really rare to take birth as a human being. Among 8,400,000 of human species, there are only 400,000 of human species, and amongst these 400,000, most of them are uncivilized. Most of them, they're like animals, dvipada pashu. And so, we can't even imagine how rare it is to gain a human form of life, but unfortunately so many people missing this opportunity. And api adruvam artada, that even though human body is a kind of bad bargain, if you think about it, right? It's like all the animals and other species of life, they have so much advantage over the human body, right? For example, like health-wise, take health. And Ayurveda says that every single problem in the body is, caused by problems with digestive system, right? Most of the problems anyway. And then, take hogs, for example. Have you ever heard of a hog having problem with digesting things? Hogs are amazing. You wouldn't even imagine what kind of body they have. I witnessed once, I lived in a small town, and I was waiting for my flight to go somewhere. There was a small airport and a park next to the airport, so I had time, so I sat in the park. And in that small town, similar to maybe India, like domestic animals are walking everywhere, hogs are walking everywhere, and cows are walking everywhere. So, and next to me on the bench there were like two boys, and they were, drinking champagne and having some chocolate with it. And then, a hog was kind of passing by that bench and stopped by their side. And actually they had some chocolate, and also they had some jam in a jar. And the hog was like looking at them and sniffing if there is anything to eat here. And they were kind of teasing the hog. They were offering the hog champagne, but even the hog refused that. And then they were already drunk, so they decided to play a joke on a hog. And so they, put a jam on the, top of the champagne bottle, on the, they just smeared on the surface of the bottle. And they kind of offered the hog jam on the bottle, smeared on the bottle. And they were thinking, the hog will lick the jam probably or something. But then what hog did, it just seized the whole bottle and started swallowing the bottle. And I heard, champagne bottles are very thick. And it actually crushed the bottle within the mouth and then started chewing the bottle and swallowed the whole thing. And I was looking at the hog and I was thinking, poor thing, it will die very soon because the glass will cut everything inside, that's it. And I was, and the hog was, like walking everywhere as if nothing happened. And I was waiting for a good hour, watching this hog, it was as happy as ever. So we cannot imagine, what kind of advantages, other bodies have comparing to human body. Human body is really a bad bargain to live in the material world, I can tell you. You'll never see, an eagle with glasses. You'll never see, like so many animals having so many problems human beings have. But, human body is completely disadvantageous in all respects. But it has one advantage which is greater than every single disadvantage. And what is it? Developed intelligence, right? With which we can actually understand who we are, who is the creator, who is our origin, and what is our relationship to the Supreme Lord. And so, and there are many other verses to that effect. Anyone else remembers any other verse explaining the importance of human body? Probably Maharaj can enlighten us. Yeah, I wouldn't remember this verse. Can you please tell us the translation also?
Krishna speaks to Uttama and says that the human body is very easily attained. Sulabha. At the same time as Durlabha, it's very rare. And it's ideal, appropriate boat for crossing over the ocean of materialism. And the captain of that boat is the Guru. And the favorable winds that move the boat along in the right direction are the instructions of the scriptures. So anyone who doesn't use the human form of life for self-realization is like an animal killer or one who kills his own soul.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, wonderful verse. Yes, Prabhupada refers to it many times from the very beginning of Bhagavatam. Yeah, one other one which I was thinking of is the very first instruction Maharaj Rishabhadev gives to his sons. Also a famous verse, Nayam deha deha bhajam nriloke kashtan karman arhate vidbhujam ye tapodivyam putrakayena sapam shudhyat yasmat brahmasaukyam tvanantam. That he says, Na ayam deha deha bhajam nriloke, that those who received the human body, they should not live like animals. Kashtankaman arhate vidbhujamya. That vidbhujam means stool-eating animals. And Prabhupada explains that it refers not only to hogs, but also to dogs. Anyone who had experience with dogs knows very well, that dogs love eating stool. They just search for stool and they eat stool. And then so many people have their dogs as domestic animal, and oftentimes they kiss the dog in the mouth. Anyway, so it says.
So I remember one quote about Prabhupada. I'm selling the self-realization, so it's opening the path to self-realization. Prabhupada said that present human society is being misled by leaders who are blind. They don't know the aim and objective of human life, which is self-realization and re-establishment of a lost relationship with your Supreme Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also a famous quote by Srila Prabhupada. He says, "My challenge to the modern civilization is that you kill your mother, cow, and then you make dog into your best friend." And then, Rishabhadev says, "Tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam," that human life is meant for tapo divyam. What is tapo divyam? Divine austerity. Austerity which is meant for divine purposes. Shudyat yasmat brahma sokyam tvanantam. And because if we become purified by the austerity, we achieve Brahma Sokyam. We achieve spiritual happiness, which is anantam, which is unending. Eternal spiritual happiness, which is different from sukha or dukkha, which is easily obtainable. And so for us, we know all these things, but for us it is very important not to get distracted in this process, because we gain so much benefit from Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna consciousness is paradharma, right? This is what's been explained in the very beginning of Bhagavatam, Savaipumsam parodharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje, that the supreme dharma is Krishna consciousness, developing love of God. And then it is so powerful, it is so potent, that even a little advancement on the path gives one unlimited benefits. And I was just remembering one point Srila Prabhupada makes in regards to the most important activity within the Bhakti Yoga, which is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And then he explained that, as we know, there are 3 stages in chanting: offensive, clearing, and pure, right? Technically called Namaparat, Namabhas, and Shuddhanam. And then he explains really amazing point. He says that Nama Aparat, offensive chanting of the holy name, gives one all material benefits. So material happiness, every kind of material advantage you ever looked for, you will get just by offensively chanting the holy name. But then, Srila Prabhupada says, along with that one will get all the miseries. Because all the miseries are accompanying the material desires. That it's like the coin which has head and tail, so you cannot get one without the other. If your material desires are fulfilled and you try to enjoy, you'll be miserable, guaranteed. As sure as death, as they say. And then, Namabhas, just when one makes attempts to become free from offenses, that gives one liberation. One can become completely free from the influence of material energy just by mere attempts to perfect one's chanting. And, of course, Shuddhanam, pure chanting, gives the real benefit, the ultimate benefit, which is Prema Pumartha Mahan, which is the divine love, which is the greatest wealth in human life. So, and Srila Prabhupada explains very interesting points here in the purport. He says that in this body, one can fulfill the four principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And if one is properly regulated, he makes further progress after liberation to engage in the service of Radha and Krishna. So he makes an interesting point here, which he makes many times in many other places also, that real devotional service starts after liberation. And what is liberation? It means that we go through these stages, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki Jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. And there is a very interesting verse in Mahabharata, a very famous verse, which Srila Prabhupada also referred to many times. He was explaining in relation to this topic, what is the difference, what is the main difference in the lives of animals and humans. So this verse says, Ahara nidrabhaya maitunamcha samana eva pashubi naranam dharmohitesha adiko vishesha dharmena hina pashubi naranam. That's right. Thank you, Maharaj. It's explained that the four activities, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maituna, that eating, sleeping, mating and defending, are common for human beings and animals. But the difference is dharma. Ability to understand Krishna and our relationship with Krishna. And so if someone is not following that in one's life, then dharmena hina pashubinaranam, that without this dharma, without following dharma, human life is no better than animal life. And so, day before yesterday when we were discussing the four regulative principles, and of course the four regulative principles have many connections, and this is one connection right here, that human life is meant to decrease the animal propensities, eating, sleeping, mating and defending, gradually, but certainly one has to become free from these influences. And we can see that the following of four regulative principles, like eating, we limit our eating by excluding not only non-vegetarian products, but also excluding everything which is not offered to Krishna or which is not offerable to Krishna, right? And taking only Krishna prasadam. So we limit our eating, we control our eating in Krishna consciousness by following this regulative principle. Then naturally, sleeping, if someone is intoxicated, then one becomes very heavily influenced by sleep. So devotees, they avoid all kinds of intoxication, so they control their sleeping. And of course, mating, illicit sex is excluded, so we control our mating. Just living, limiting this activity to the procreation of Krishna conscious progeny, and only in the family life. And then, of course, gambling. Why people gamble? Because they want security in their life. Because money, ultimately, this is the emblem of security, right? And sometimes Srila Prabhupada also translated as defending, as fearing, right? And so what's the greatest fear in most people's lives? Lose money. And so, gambling is an attempt to get as much money, maximum amount of money to, counteract that. But, we're not gambling, we exclude gambling from our lives. So we can see that these rules, these 4 regulative principles, they automatically help us to decrease the materialistic activities pertaining to the body, and then Dharma. Of course, we can think of a Dharma as a house, and in the same way as a house is meant for living, Dharma is meant for serving, right? So what is Dharma? Srila Prabhupada explains in the same way as water is wet and fire is hot, living entity, jiva, is servant by nature. And so Dharma has one purpose, serving. In the same way as house has one purpose, living. But this Dharma has 2 tiers, like the house with 2 stores. So lower tier of Dharma is called Varnashram Dharma. And the top tier of Dharma is called Sanatana Dharma. And then there are 3 types of activities Dharma is meant for. And these activities are very much highlighted in the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita in both chapters 17 and 18, and these activities are explained to be able to purify even great wise men, great thinkers. Pavanani Manishanam. Anyone, I'm sure Maharaj would remember, would know what are these activities, but anyone else? And austerity, yeah. Yagya, Dana, Tapa. So these 3 activities are directly connected to Dharma. Yagya, Dana and Tapa. Sacrifice, and then charity and self-control or austerity. And this house of Dharma is standing on 4 pillars, and these 4 pillars are direct counterpart of 4 materialistic activities. And what are the 4 pillars of Dharma? Cleanliness, truthfulness, austerity, and purity. Yeah. Purity was mentioned. Cleanliness, mercy is the other one. Satya, Daya, Tapashuchi. And so this is how Dharma can develop in human life if we focus on these 4. And of course, the ultimate goal of Dharma is to develop love of God. Like living in the house. What is the goal of living in the house? Is to be happy. Nobody would want to live in the house being miserable, right? The idea is to be happy in the house. So in the same way, the purpose of Dharma, the ultimate purpose of Dharma, is develop pure love of God, which is meant to bring the topmost happiness in human life. All right, so maybe we'll stop here and ask for any comments, suggestions, complaints.